Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I have another weekly check-in reading for the week of Sunday, July 19th, all the way through Saturday, July 25th. So I can't believe that this month has also felt like it's just been flying by, especially because I literally have been doing nothing. I'm just at home trying to recover. The most that I do is usually go to different doctor's appointments and things like that. So it's just been very interesting to kind of see the month is just kind of passing by. So today I wanted to use the Rosebud Tarot as, I don't know, I was wanting to use something a little bit different, something I don't always reach for, even though I love this deck. The sun will be moving into Leo this week, and we will also have a new moon in Aquarius, I believe, maybe Thursday or Friday. I'll have to look at the calendar again. So, but let's see what we need to kind of keep in mind this week as a collective and what the cards want to say about what we have going on. So what do we need to know as a collective? We have the Ace of Fire reversed. And what do we need to do this week as a collective? We have the Ace of Water upright. All right, what do we need to release as a collective? We have the Ten of Fire. All right, and then what do we need to contemplate this week as a collective? We have the Velocity of Fire. Lots of fire, which the sun will be moving into Leo. We have some kind of crazy astrological things happening this week that I'm sure if you have been on any kind of like witchy or astrology or spiritual kind of, corner and facet of the internet, you've probably heard about, what will be happening this week with Barbok's Basket and things of that. I feel like everyone's putting out videos about it and trying to get information out there and all of these different things. But let's talk about these cards and see what we should kind of keep in mind. So very first card is going to be what we need to know. So here we have the Ace of Wands essentially reversed. And to me, a reversed card is almost giving us an opportunity to look at maybe what we've been internalizing about this energy, what we're not quite ready to kind of express outwardly. And when I think of the Ace of Fire or the Ace of Wands, to me it's like a new vitality. It's an opportunity to kind of step into something new, to kind of get out there, like the match is lit and we're ready to kind of see what comes next. Reversals, like I said, I feel like it's an internalization of this energy. So maybe we are being a little bit cautious about what we're going to do next, how we're going to show up, what that means, what we want to kind of do with this energy. Maybe we have the inspiration, but we don't really feel like it's quite as put together as we would like for it to be. Maybe we just don't feel like there's quite a bit of those opportunities really opening up in the way that we would like. So when I think of this Ace of Fire or the Ace of Wands and this being reversed, and what we need to know is maybe this is a week where we may want some sort of initiation and change, but we haven't really been opening ourselves up to the possibility of seeing it all the way through, or we don't feel quite as prepared to kind of do something different, to do something else. Wands and essentially the element of fire can be very much connected to creativity. It can be very much connected to, fast moving kind of energy, traveling, momentum, movement, inspiration, like spirit. And so maybe this week we're just, I don't want to say we're hanging back, but there may be something that doesn't feel quite ready to kind of be expressed currently. It's maybe in the conception stage of we're thinking about it, we're trying to figure out if this is what we want to do. So it may feel like this week is not one where we're actively kind of pursuing things with this kind of like abandon, so to speak. And we may be, I don't want to say cautious, but maybe we're kind of waiting for what feels right and what will kind of happen moving forward. So just kind of keep that in mind, is that maybe like you're like, I'm ready for something to change, I'm ready for something to be different, but maybe you're just not quite feeling it fully. Now with what we need to do, we have the Ace of Water or the Ace of Cups. And to me, this is very much about like a new beginning when it comes to how we feel, to our intuition, to, you know, our sense of the emotionality that we have in our lives and what we have kind of going on. Maybe this is an opportunity within our relationships, our connections, our, you know, our connection to ourselves. Maybe we kind of feel like, oh, I can finally be a little bit more X, Y, and Z in this way. When I think of the aces, I think of them as like doors opening to that suit. And it doesn't mean that things will work out exactly as we would like for them to, but there is just that word of opportunity. I think of it as really giving us a chance to look at what it is that we're wanting to kind of shift and the possibility of what those shifts can do for us in so many different ways. So I think with what we need to do this week is maybe take advantage of the situations that kind of open up when it comes to things that feel right for us, especially when we're still kind of trying to figure out what the inspiration is or what it will look like for us in some ways. So while it may not feel like things are moving quite as quickly as you want, or maybe you feel like you're having to deliberate a little bit more than you typically would, with what we need to do, it's kind of saying that, all right, do take advantage of the doors that open up that feel right, the things that feel connected to you, the things that feel in alignment with who you are, what you want, what you value, what feels intuitively connected for you. There may be some opportunities that are showing up right now that maybe don't always make the most sense, if that makes sense, but maybe this is because it's finally right. And I think with this like bar boats basket, that's a lot of like what I've kind of seen as like this common thread of like, there's a lot of this energy that's going to be kind of playing out and kind of saying like, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here. What are you going to do with it? What do you want to use this energy for? How are you going to use this energy? And so I think that this is going to be one where it's like, it's not about impulsivity. It's not about just kind of like doing things just to do things and making some momentum and movement. I think it's more of just feeling into this next thing, really allowing ourselves to be more connected energetically to what we want and what we're trying to do. Now with what we need to release, we have the 10 of Fire or the 10 of Wands. Now, typically this is a card that's kind of saying like, hey, you've just been doing everything. You're overextended, you're overstressed. You've been either trying to do everything, or you have a little bit of this energy of, I'm the only one that knows how to do it, or I'm the only one that's always done it, so I have to keep going in this direction. And the thing with the 10s in tarot is that I kind of like to look at them as this is the culmination of all of the other lessons. And it's kind of telling you like, hey, we need to get ready for things to change. Something is on the horizon. Things need to kind of shift. And with the 10 of Fire is that maybe what we need to release is this kind of sense of obligation, the sense of duty, the sense of not being able to share the load and not being able to kind of say like, hey, I have been doing this by myself for so long. I really need help. I need community. I need people to kind of step in and show up and kind of share with me, you know, what we're doing and how we're doing it and what is necessary for me to kind of move into this next phase. So I feel like with this 10 of fire, with what we need to release, is that maybe it's a reminder that we need to kind of let go and put and set some stuff down in order for us to really just be aware of what we need for the next thing. And I know like summer is probably not the best time for a lot of people to kind of be like, I need to purge, I need to kind of go through. Since I've been actually, you know, home a little bit more, I've been kind of trying to do a little bit of this, of like going through things and clearing the clutter and trying to kind of be more present and aware with like, how much stuff do I have? Why do I have all this stuff? Why do I have all of these things? And trying to be more aware of like, what does this mean for me? Why am I carrying all of this? So I think with what we need to release this week is maybe look at everything we've been carrying, maybe take some time out, take some inventory, not just internally, but also, you know, with our spirit. Like, what is our spirit, you know, carrying? Because fire, wands are the element of spirit too, right? So we have this kind of energy of like, what do we believe in? And what's driving us? What is the next thing? Where's there momentum and movement that's trying to happen in our lives, but we're just kind of carrying these things. And maybe we just have a lot of baggage that we need to learn how to set down and let go because we've been carrying this stuff. And maybe it doesn't make that much sense for what is coming next. In order for us to kind of open the door of opportunity, we're kind of blocking ourselves in some way. Now with what we need to contemplate, another Wands card. We have the Velocity of Fire. This is essentially the Knight of Wands. When I think of the court cards, I think of them as not just personality that, or even just like quirks and ways in which we may show up, or even characters that kind of come and enter into our lives. I feel like sometimes these are different reminders of what it is that we are trying to kind of like move into. And the Knights to me are a reminder of us really paying attention to the messages that are coming through, and to also pay attention to what it is that we're willing to kind of fight for. When we think of knights in antiquity, we think of them as the ones that would kind of be prepared to go to battle. And I feel like with this, with what we need to contemplate, is that maybe we need to look at like, what am I willing to fight for? What am I willing to kind of say, hey, this is what I need to get up and go and do something about, because this is something that is so important to me, or I feel a call to this. I'm ready to kind of get out into the world and share these things and prepare my own message to kind of see what is kind of going on out there and what I need to do. And so I think with what we need to contemplate this week is, what is it that's driving us? What is it that we feel inspired by? What is it that we feel like on fire for? What is it that is making us feel a sense of momentum and movement and inspiration, and that spiritually really truly speaks to us? And I feel like Leo season in a lot of ways can be a big reminder for so many of us about our personal identity, what, you know, really lights us up as individuals. And so I think as the sun is kind of moving into Leo this week, as we have this new moon in Aquarius, we're kind of getting this like sense of like, do I really know how I want to show up for humanity? Do I really know what I'm trying to do with my life? Because we're also going to be having the eclipses happening here pretty soon, and we're getting a lot of this kind of energy of like this opening and this closing, and this kind of having to be a little bit not just present, but also aware of like, what are we doing with our one little life, and why are we showing up in this way? Why haven't we really been more present for ourselves? And what is it that, again, we believe in that's kind of driving us, that we really want? And so I think that this week we are going to really be focusing on how we really truly feel about things, and what that means for us, that, you know, drives our sense of inspiration. What is it that maybe we've been carrying that doesn't really make that much sense for this next phase? And really pay attention to not just what we want, but what we need, and being a little bit more aware of what is happening here. So I do want to pull a Moonology messages card, as we do have this new moon in Aquarius. All right, so let's see. We have the day moon. It's all about love. And I feel like that's very much a Leo Aquarius access message. It's, you know, learning how to show up for the self and what that means on a grand scale, what that means in the grand theme of things. Like, what is it all for? And the love card here, I think, is a reminder of maybe this is a week where we need to look at how we need to show up, not just for ourselves, but what we need and what that means for us on a much more humanitarian level, as well as like getting all of these fire cards. I feel like it's kind of saying like, what is it that you really love about what is happening in your life? And if you don't, what is it that maybe you need to kind of focus on so that things do work out the way that you want and that they do make more sense for you personally? Because again, this is your one spectacular, beautiful life that you're getting to live. So what are you going to do with it? All right. And lastly, one elemental empath oracle card, and we have mirror, which is all about the world as a mirror. Notice the patterns and clear your blocks. I think that this is going to be great advice as we prepare for eclipse season. Eclipses can be a beautiful reminder. They come in like 18-month cycles essentially, and they're kind of saying like, hey, there's a lot of stuff here. Maybe there's a lot of like of these interpersonal relationships that you have been carrying and that you have kind of going on that don't really align with who you are, what you want, what you've been trying to do. And I think we need to start moving into this energy of, and not just the energy, but maybe even the frequency, the understanding of having more of a sense of combining yourself and what you're doing and how your expression of you with more love, and kind of looking at, you know, what sort of things have been reflected and why, what sort of things have you been carrying and why. And so I think that this is like an opportunity for us to look at the patterns in our life when it comes to not just what we believe, but what inspires us, what sort of connections and relationships continuously come into our lives and why, as well as do we have the possibility, the availability to open ourselves up to really moving into connections, relationships, fulfilling ourselves with things that we actually love. Because I know for many of us, we, you know, have just been kind of going through the motions. And so I don't know about you guys, but I've been kind of like sitting with myself and kind of like, man, I really just like don't want anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to, you know, be out. I don't know. And I was thinking maybe it was just because like I'm still recovering and whatever. But I think like the last few days have been kind of like, you know what, I need to kind of get back out into the world. I need to kind of not just be in my little like bubble and so just closed off to the beauty and the magic of this world. And I know that things can seem a little bit like unfulfilling and challenging and very much like, what is going on? How do we get it so off and so wrong in so many different ways? But I think that this week we're going to have a lot of opportunities to kind of look at, you know, what is it that we really love? What sort of things have been kind of showing up? What sort of things have been reflected back to us and why? And what is it that really is driving us? What is inspiring us? Because I think at the end of the day, as humans, you know, through all time, the thing that keeps us going is a sense of hope, a sense of it will get better tomorrow. I can make it better tomorrow. I still have enough time. And I think some of us are kind of forgetting some of this energy. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me this week. I really hope that this video brought you some clarity, that it finds you well, that you're taking care of yourself. and that you're making good choices out there. So please take care, stay safe, and just know, hey, I love you. Bye.